I think that we would all agree that over time, as Malaysia has become more industrialized and become a higher income than in the past, of course, our energy demands have grown in tandem. And yet, I think we all read the blogs and so on, there's a sense that maybe our energy policies actually encourage waste. We are not as efficient as we could be. And I'd like to ask the panel how they feel about that. Maybe starting with Dr. Philip.
If you look at the history of the gas, for example, originally, gas was supposed to be a pass-through, all right? Actually, way back before 1995, there was supposed to be a pass-through, CPI minus N plus Y, I remember was CPM, and it was actually implemented, and the reference price of gas then was $6.40, all right? And the pass-through mechanism for the actual cost of fuel was implemented for about 3 quarters. At the time, gas dropped below $6.40. And everybody get a negative reduction in tariff. Everybody was happy. When the gas goes above 640, that is where the consumer get hurt and that after that, the financial crisis, 97 financial crisis came into play. And as a result of which, the government, in order to help the industry, government makes gas price to fix at 640. And that has gone on until 2009 when the government decided to remove the subsidy gradually. And the industries now is waiting to see the direction that the government is going and how are they going to remove the energy efficiency and how the industry can get prepared for that eventuality.
You have to understand what's happened to the country over the last maybe one generation, 20, 25, 30 years ago. Oil at one time was about 2 ringgit a gallon. A gallon was 4.5 liters or so. That's 2 ringgit per 4.5 liters. Today is 2 ringgit for 1 liter. Now this is what Philip is saying, that it is the price of commodity. How much they will pay for that? And then the government looks at, how do I maximize the benefit of this commodity for the overall development of the economy, the national economy, right? There were priorities set to say, I have to attract FDIs, foreign direct investment. I have to move on into rural electrification. I have to move on to some extent of industrialization, some agro-based industries. I have to build infrastructure, etc. So the government's portfolio must include all these elements of development. And power happens to be one of the things that might drive the economy. In 2008, the oil price in the world market struck at $148 per barrel. Imagine in a span of about 30, 40 years, oil price moved from being $3 a barrel to $148 a barrel. Fortunately, today, it has come down to a more reasonable level at $100 a barrel, say, or slightly lower. These are the economics of overall economic growth. You can have a commodity to fuel your industrial growth. You want to have socio-economic activities in the country. You want to promote industrialization, etc. Now, I think when Philip said about the gas price becoming was explored and exploited to give you a cheap source of energy, originally it was envisaged that this will have to link to some kind of index, for example, the CPI. That was very useful at that point because the government in the early 80s wanted to promote the huge chapter in industrialization of the country's growth. That came into being. It was just fortunate, we were very blessed the fact that we found oil off the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia, brought it onshore, piped it across, and used that to power up the national growth. Now, these are all history. It has finite reserves. It was very, very cheap, in fact, to drill oil and explore and exploit. The government used the word exploit because this was the engine of growth for the industry. As we went along over the last 25 years, the volume that you can get from the ground starts depleting. You cannot run away from this. This is a physical phenomena. This is natural reserves that you have. All those cheap wells were starting to gradually trend downwards in terms of throughput volume. Now, what do we have? We have a crunch situation when the gas is somehow insufficient to power up the whole country's expectation in terms of generation capacity and energy requirements. Then you have a situation to handle. What do you do next? Hence, the government thought of what alternative fuels can we think about Okay, there was a little bit of hydro coming from our hills and Cameron Highlands and Pergao and Terengganu, etc. But that was not sufficient to power up the whole national growth. The option then became necessary that we took up coal as an input to the fuel system. Now, coal has to be procured at international market prices because we don't have that kind of reserves or mineable or economically mineable reserves in country as far as coal is concerned. Except, you might argue, for some relatively small fields of low-grade young coal in Sumatra. That was also experimented, but not doing very well in terms of generation mix and transportability. So you have all these equations come into play now, and that's why I think we'll have to think of how best that we can optimize or maximize the efficiency of the raw fuel that we have into something which is more usable in the form of electricity or something that can be used straight away for heating or whatever application. It is very critical now. How do we translate from a raw form to a usable form in the most economic manner and utilize most efficiently?